Good morning, world. Good morning, everyone. Paul Tranny here, giving you a shout out. Let me know how volume is. Might be a little hot. I don't know. Siobhan, how are you doing today? Just wishing everybody a warm welcome and a wonderful Monday. Got a fine Monday happening right now. Good morning, Sadhaya, Siobhan, Tom, Claire, Francisco is in the house. All right, this is good to see. Good to see everyone. We're going to talk about UX and UI design, and quite frankly, it's a continuation of what I was working on 2 weeks ago. So, yes, so welcome. Good to have you here. We have a fantastic week lined up, and hopefully the music's not too loud. Kind of is in my ears. But Colby, let's get this party started. Everybody, welcome. Just feel free to be active in chat. I'll be monitoring that. If you are joining me on YouTube, feel free to hop over to behance.net/live, and that would be fantastic. And we'll get this party started. So essentially what we have happening this week is we have a UX and UI week. All week, actually, today, counting this session, including tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Friday with Talon, Wadsworth, and members of the XD team, usually. So, essentially, what we have going on, Ryan, and hopefully you can join us, Colby can join us, Douchey Rocks would be awesome. But we have Heba. Well, actually, we have an all-female lineup, which is awesome. I gotta come in and ruin the mix, otherwise it'd be all-female all the time. But yeah, so we have Heba Abdelkader, and I'm probably not pronouncing her name correctly, but you will get to meet her live, at least through a screen, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., hosted by me. We have Katie Wyman coming up as well with Sarah Stewart, who's actually works for Adobe. She's like a really good illustrator, actually has been a guest of ours, so super fun to have her. And then Sarah Raj as well with Lindsay Monroe. So pretty chill, fun week, relaxing week. Talk to me, people. Ryan, how are you doing? Tell me. I'm here in I'm here in Portland right now, is where I am, because I'm homeless, because I'm in between houses, to be honest with you. But I'm here in beautiful Portland. It was lovely here this weekend. Got to go down to the coast. Always curious as to what you guys got into this weekend. Alexander, and kind of along those lines is Wyatt mentioned me sort of like creating this app based on music, sort of a music location app is what it's all about. So I'm going to kind of dive into this if we could. So Cindy, let me know where you're from, where you're at right now. Be great. Bill, hello, my friend. And welcome. So here's kind of roughly the schedule. We're going to still do some creating, but really it's all about designing multiple screens and then doing the prototyping and sharing, okay? So if we even take a step back and look at what we did last week, which is what I'm about to show you, we can kind of dive into that. So let's kind of share my screen right now, if you don't mind, and let me just kind of move this over like so. In Santa Barbara, Melanie's from Santa Barbara. Who doesn't like Santa Barbara? Yeah, of course, get it. I've been down there to the Coffee Cat. That's the name of the coffee shop downtown. I don't know if it's still there, but I used to go there and work, so oh yes. Oh, Felicia, good to see you here. Sorry, I've been kind of fell off the map a little bit. Just been like super busy. I've been recording videos, by the way, like crazy for Adobe XD because we have something special happening within the next couple days. Well, very, very soon. But essentially, this is what we have. I'm just going to run this script so I can see chat a little easier, if you don't mind, and make sure that's off to the side. All right, Virginia in the house. Miriam as well. Okay, Cindy's from Virginia. Hopefully, what time is it? 9, 10, 11, like 12 p.m. there. Noon. Thank you for joining us for our lunch. So again, this is kind of what we're going to work on today. Yeah, this is correct. I actually wanted to show this. This just changed, by the way. So this was part 1 of 2. This is what we first did a couple weeks ago, and I can post that link. But it was all about an overview of UX and UI design, diving into just creating basic graphics, all based on like Spotify. So like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's see what other apps or what metaphors people are currently used to, and that's kind of where we started. And then we dove into where we're at today, which is sort of taking that a step further. And I've played with this some already, but we'll see it change here in a second. Part 2 of 2. We're going to finish creating those graphics. We're going to design some screens. We're going to have some fun designing, right, and talking about music and where you live and like what's cool in your area, because when I travel, that's what I want to know, right? And I'm going to prototype and share this app with you as well. So that's the goal. Again, all in line with this week. So join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. too, just as an FYI. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, kind of show you where, kind of a brief overview of what we talked about last week, but not to repeat myself too much. If that works for you. Tom in the house from... sometimes things don't resize the way you want them to. All right. Abtin from Iran. We don't see many people here from Iran, and I'm going to give you a toast. Sorry, this is kind of loud. Oh, Paco hates me for this. Sorry, I'm trying to be as quiet as possible. But I want to cheers Abtin from Iran with my coconut nitro cold brew like you do in Portland, because I don't think I've had it from Iran in a bit. India's here as well, so that's cool. So what type of music would you listen to, or what's hot right now in India? Specifically in the city or town or wherever you're from is the idea. So if you're near DC, like what's the hot music people like listen to there, right? And that's what I want to know as I travel around. So yes, I can share this doc as well, because this is what you have. In fact, let's just take a look. We kind of went through the UX UI crash course, the difference between UX and UI design. I kind of referred it to, I like this metaphor of like sort of like ketchup. You know, for years, ketchup was like this, right? Not that user-friendly, because people had such a hard time. We don't talk about how hard it is to ketchup out of a bottle, because what we did is we just decided to flip it upside down. And there's even some other things we talk about there. And UX and UI design together is this. So perfect combination of user research and all that stuff going into the branding and everything as well. All right. Yes. Fantastic. So that's what it's all about. Plan, sketch, design, prototype. This is sort of the general process. We did the planning, we did some sketching, we reviewed previous apps, so you'll see a lot of this. This is Apple's music app. Then we have Spotify is what I really like referenced a lot. We literally drew out some of these screens, and I'm going to show you my take on it as well. And it's really all about how to differentiate. Here's another app called Musi. Which I just really was drawn to the colors, but I wanted to see at least have 3 different options for sort of deconstructing music apps. This is actually a sketch I did on paper, and this is just not good. But I have a sketchbook of how I started to plan out, like, identifying your location and serving up that music. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and publish out this prototype. In fact, let's just go ahead and grab this link. Since it hasn't changed, if you want to see these notes from last week, I'll just post this to Behance. Okay, part 1 of 2. So let's dive into creating, because that's what I want to do. Don't you hate it when you can't post more than 200 characters? And I'm trying to post... How long is this? Okay. Let's make adjustments. Okay, it looks like I actually have to update it. Let's update that, and we'll get that to you. So hopefully that sounds good to you. I'm also just curious about like what you guys listen to in next release of XD, but I can't really say. So. Oh, okay. Okay, I gotta choose new link. All right, so let's get this published out and get this moving along. As expected. And I've jumped ahead because this is where we started. Let's zoom out right here, sort of taking the idea of, okay, you know, how does Spotify deal with music, right? So again, you get to the home screen, gives you all these recommendations. And this is key because this is what I want to actually make. All these various recommendations, again, kind of based on just my music preferences. But what I want, let's try to just do an abstract earth, something like this, and this might even be better, but I can copy and paste from Illustrator, okay, and bring that in just like that. So bringing this in, anytime you paste something in, of course, you're gonna have access to all those vector elements. You can see right over here, I decide I wanna change this to white. I can pretty easily. In fact, I wanna change this white fill to a semi-transparent look, okay? And then I wanna give it an outline of white. So that's what I'm doing from a graphic that I've just brought into Adobe XD. And what I can do if I click right here, I can come in and adjust again the transparency because I want to try to make this kind of light and nice and neat. All right. Now this is what I want to do. I can draw from within XD. I showed this last week. Since this is part 2 of 2, you don't need to know, I don't need to kind of talk about how to draw in XD. But what we did last week too is we created colors. So off to the side, right here, I can add or use this color. So this is actually this color, this is signature color I'm using that we can easily change. So again, selecting that, maybe I actually just want to have the border be that color. I can copy, you can see right over here, I can copy the color. I can apply as a border or apply as a fill. Because what I was just trying to do is I was thinking, okay, well, I don't want this to be a solid sort of highlighted color. I really want the border to take on this color. So right click, apply as border. Applying that little highlight, because what I'm trying to do is kind of show that I'm in, you know, roughly this Pacific Northwest area, highlighting this area, what is cool here, right? I'm going to do a couple things right now. And let's just see where our publishing of this is. Let's go new link. And feel free to jump in if you have any questions. This is more of a getting started stream, so I won't be, you know, I don't want you to feel ignored because I want to have a conversation with you, but I want to make this valuable for anybody watching this when it is recorded. Okay. So Adobe Live is very popular. All right, cool, fantastic. All right, so here I've drawn in Adobe XD. Let's check this prototype link, still visual screen. This today, but what I did is I took apart Spotify. So I took the play screen and then I eventually ended up making these sort of play screens. And then I spent more time on it and kind of ended up with this. And I really kind of was like really into like these colors for some reason, right? Because what do we have? Our splash screen where you can sign in, you know, sign up through email or Facebook, okay? So that's kind of what I'm working on, but essentially once you sign in, that's what brings you to this location screen right here. And what's gonna happen before we even can start designing this or serving up that music is we need to sort of get permission based on your location. Okay, so we've imported from Illustrator, we've drawn in XD, and now I actually want to get a UI kit. So File, Get UI Kits. We can go to Apple iOS, and I'm going to be taking some more from here, and that's where I'm going to get it. University of Central Florida. Colby, love to come to University of Central Florida. Is that near Full Sail University at all? Just curious. But I've already downloaded those, and you can see a number of the UI kits right in here that I've used, right? So these are all the UI kits that I've downloaded that you can get from File, Get UI Kits, and then locating the UI kit. I'm going into the iOS because what do I need to do is I need to grab a little pop-up that says, hey, we are getting the location. Oh, and thank you so much. You're probably wondering where the name of the app came from. We kind of did a little contest last week. Got many awesome suggestions, including Toon City and Beat Street, which was awesome, and a number of cool ideas. But really where we came, what it came down to was doing basically the word music translated in different languages. So I have a whole idea around this. It could be music. This is actually the German version, but Musica is another idea. But this is currently the name of the app. And thank you for that, Toon City. It's awesome. It's hilarious. I love it. Okay, so from in here, you can see these UI elements. I can do a Command 0. We can see all of these crazy artboards. But right over here, we can say, hey, you know what? Here are these little pop-up buttons, if you will. So I can copy this, go over here, and use this, kind of paste that in and say, hey, you know what? Location. Oh, wait, actually, sorry. That's the wrong one. Because we need it to be a toggle. We need it to be this one right next to it. Copying that, coming in here to that one located here and using it appropriately, pasting it in, and now we can say location. You know, I have to double check what this messaging is. Get current location, which is the whole idea of the app, obviously. Yes. No. All right. Oh, cool. Colby, Full Sail's right next to UCF. Good to know. Sweet. Oh, yes, Felicia, good call. I want to walk through how to publish and really how to do all the prototyping, all the publishing to even get that content on Behance, which is a great idea. So I can show you where that's at. So again, where do we go? We go from here to here, the login, locate, and then you get this list screen, right? So like there might be a message before this one. This is what I want to do. I want to go right in here. I'm going to drag these over and I'm going to duplicate this screen. You can duplicate screens just by these screens, otherwise known as artboards, are just elements. So I can hold down the Option key and the Shift key and drag that over and it's going to duplicate that screen exactly as expected, right? Is the idea. Because what I want to do is I want to have a little loading screen is the idea. So right in here, this should say something like, since this is the whole idea of the app. Wait for it. Let's clean this up. We'll say see, as I'm typing, what I want this to be is I don't want this to be like a headline text. I really need it to be body copy. So as I type this, it's all staying on one line. So typically you'll do maybe a hard return, but you can go right over here in the properties panel and you'll see some of the controls for this text. So I can turn point text or like title text, if you will, into area text. As I click there, it gives me this box. Okay, so now I can wrap that text. Get current popular artists, right? Getting popular artists, you know, in the area, something like that, based on your location. So basically, this is what all the cool kids are listening to in the area, like that. That's what we want. And maybe we want to move this up. Sure, is that smaller? I want to do something like this. This graphic I actually brought in from, let's make this larger. Oh yeah. Something like that. All right, down to 15, something like that. And adjusting this text. So I'm manipulating this text. I'm manipulating a couple graphics. I probably still want to change this a little bit. This was also brought in from Illustrator. I can do something like this to give it a little more room. I don't know, still needs a little bit of work, but that's why we are here. Getting popular artists based on your location. So this is locate. And then serve up a list of those artists right here. Okay. Oh, Napster logo. So maybe this does remind you. That does. It's very Napster-ish. Good call. Okay. So the idea is like this will rotate and do something cool, right? Has a lot of motion to it, and I want to have something that looks like an equalizer and also looks like a map is the idea. Oh, I'm sorry about the delay. Let's try to fix this. Okay. And again, some of these graphics came from, there it is, Illustrator. Okay, cool. And we are back. Okay, so let me dive back into this because essentially I have these screens and I'm going to start linking them together. Notice how this is actually a repeat grid. Okay. What I might consider doing for this repeat grid and how was this made? Essentially, you know, all of these elements are linked, but let's shrink this back up. Let's do an ungroup grid. Any elements that you can select can be turned into a repeat grid. Selecting a repeat grid, dragging that down, and I've duplicated all of those elements. All right, and then I can also tighten up the spacing like I'm doing right now. All right, so I think that that should help. I just closed some apps, and that should help out a lot. All right, so I have these elements. This repeat grid, it just says artist name, kind of boring. Let's go to my music app. I have artist images. I have artist names as well. There's this text file, just makes it easy to just take that text and drop it in on that text element, and you can see it's changed for all those cases. Okay, so that's what I want to do in this case. And notice I can also manually change these elements as well. Pretty easy. Was probably the most popular sort of feature out of Adobe XD. From there, I can actually always change these. As I go in here, I can jump in and move that over, or I can move over a number of elements because I happen to have all these artist images. So, let's take a closer look, grabbing this content. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'm gonna take and make a new element, right? Of course, it's being duplicated because all of these, this is part of the repeat grid. With that item selected, I can take all these images, I'm not 100% sure these are actually going to match up, but that's okay. We'll take a lot of those, we'll drop them right in here, and they'll propagate on down. So from there, I'm just gonna move that over, and then I'm gonna play with this stacking order. So right here, instead of having this image right at the top, I'm gonna move it down. Let's just do an object, actually right click, send to back. Bring forward. All right. Still having a little bit of a problem with this element, but I'm gonna grab this, copy this, paste it in front. There we go. Okay, fixed it. Moving that over, and this is more along the lines of what I want. All right, so 13 songs, pretend like this is FICA Twigs, which is F, I think it's all caps, by the way. I can always change that, because once I drop that in from that, that text file, it's no longer connected, and this seems to work a little bit better for my usage. All right. Felicia just said the funniest comment. That's hilarious. Okay, so I have this working out pretty well. This is going clear to the edge. I actually might want to move this in just a touch, moving that over just like that. That's sort of along the lines of what I want. We have these different elements up at the top. What happened here? Well, essentially, let's just kind of ungroup this. Typically what I'll do is I'll design something like this, everything except for the selectable item. And I'll take this entire menu and I will turn it into, you guessed it, a symbol. So that's what I'm gonna do, is turn it into a symbol just by clicking this plus button like that. And now this is the symbol being used, and then I can take this element and put it right on top. All right, so from there I can even copy it, right? Command C, going to the second screen, right? Paste. And I will send to back. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. Same thing I've done for this top bar as well. And you can see a number of elements are actually already symbols. So not only are the colors an asset, I have character styles, and then I also have symbols. So this is gonna make it really easy to change. But I'm gonna start linking some of this content together. In fact, right over here for this screen, right here, the play screen, this is where we want the name of the artist. And then let's kind of clean this up because I want to actually make this a little bit more unique at this point. Oh no, Uger. So anyways, thank you, Felicia. Apparently my hair is looking good. I appreciate that. Hopefully the syncing issue is no longer an issue, but you never know. And just to remind you what we're doing, we're creating these screens, kind of working on this, creating graphics. I'm going to talk about using CC libraries. We've already used assets from UI kits, and we've created assets and symbols. So what I did is just created some symbols, okay? And we designed and created this list based on using the repeat grid. So 1 and 2 is pretty much done. And let's not forget, join me tomorrow where you'll see even more fantastic designing done as well. So that was the schedule. I'm gonna dive into these elements. So I have this circle right here, and I wanna drop a picture of FICA Twigs right in there. Let's actually find the correct one right over there. Love this, such good. Dropping that on any shape, and then there it is. I actually happened to rotate it earlier, but that's more along the lines of what I want. Dropping that in on that shape right here. All right, I'm gonna change this color to white. I'm gonna give this element That looks pretty good. Something to point out is that anytime you're using elements or text, you can have drop shadows on text, but not on like created vector elements. All right, so just to be aware of that. That's typically what I'd want to do in this situation, is have a drop shadow. Okay, and instead of using that drop shadow, I'm actually going to just apply this color to the border, something like that, because I got to make sure it stands out. All right, so that looks pretty good. This is also a repeat grid down here. Let's move this over. And let's correct that, because I'm sure somebody caught that. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so thank you so much for your help as well, Miriam. You think I know everything? Well, the more you know, the more you realize that you have no idea what's going on. They actually say smarter people are actually less confident because they actually have an indication of what they don't know. And it's true. It's like the more you learn, the less you realize that you just didn't know anything about any of that. Okay, so here's my screen. I'm not gonna, I do have some other elements right in here that I can actually manipulate and change, and I'll probably do that as well. Give me 1 second, and then we'll connect these screens. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. Using the layers panel, you can start to see this stacking order. Of course, all of this craziness. But right in here, I can take this and drag this down beneath everything. And I can see that I have this color being used. Change that to something like white. Shrink it down, but that's currently sort of what's playing. Let's just get rid of this. Give me 1 second. I want to do so many things because I want to show you some new features as well. So here we have FICA Twigs. Let's fix this right now. We know the song title that's currently playing is right here. And what I also have, let's move this equalizer over. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to duplicate this because this is going to be really awesome. Essentially, what's going to happen if you sort of select this top menu right here, this search. So I'm going to take this search bar. I'm going to turn it into a symbol off to the side, just like that. Copying that, pasting it in place. All right, now let's link these screens up. All right, let's get this started. So much to do. And again, this is part 1 of 2. I'm going to hopefully get a shorter link at this point. There it is. These are the screens from the sort of session 1, as I call it, or part 1. There you go. Cool. All right. Anzi, good to have you here. Welcome. Anzi, I'm wondering where are you from? I'm currently in beautiful Portland. Where I don't even know who, again, that's why I'd build this app. Just to recap, what I'm doing is I'm building a location-based music app using Spotify as sort of a basis, right? So taking this into account and then creating my own music app. It's all about getting to know what people are listening to in the area. But now what I need to do in this case is start linking all these screens together, prototyping. So I'm going to start with this first login screen right here. And I'm going to go up to prototype. Anzi from Germany, I'm going to have you. Welcome, my friend. This is a location-based music app, and I use the German version word for music. And the idea is this word would actually change based on your location as well. So changing the actual name of the app is kind of fun to work with, right? I think in this case, since I am in Portland, I'd probably give this this little icon a beanie and a mustache to make it really like a hipster logo based on this location. But I digress. I'm going to do prototyping. So right up here, I'm going to make this my start screen or artboard by selecting this button right here. You can see that right there. Just selecting that. It says, hey, you know what? This is going to be my start screen. I can get into all of these elements, you know, whether you log in, whatever. I'm actually going to just link the whole screen just to make this easy. Later on, I can kind of start to break out and show the sign up screens. But if you ever need to do this process, because this process is kind of boring, let's face it. If you're doing sort of an onboarding screens, I want to show you this because you can go to File, Get UI Kits, and you can go to down to wireframes. So this is a good UI kit that you can take some of that content from. So I'll show you right in here, wires for mobile is what I'm going to open up because I need those screens. And sure enough, as this opens up, here are all my sign up or login screens right here, right? So you can take these are just your basic wireframes that you can start to establish a look from, or a look if you want to call it that. I don't know. But this is the idea, like create an account, go through this process, right? Take this content, because this is why we give it to you, is to empower you is the goal. So I typically do that, take those, drop them in there as a separate deal, essentially, is what would happen, all right? And the nice thing is I don't have to hook these up right now. I can copy all those artboards at once, paste them in, and I can worry about this later, but just positioning them right below. All right, so this is gonna link to this screen. We're gonna go to this location screen right here. We can see these number of assets. In fact, I can dive into this object right here, and even this, just this specific yes button right here, and I can have that link to getting popular artists based on your location. Pointing to that screen, what's going to happen? It's going to go to the locate screen. It's going to dissolve, okay? And then it's going to jump to the next one. All right. Let's kind of center this content. You can move content around. Keep in mind, I am in the prototype area, so if you feel like you're missing tools, well, just check what tab you're in. But right here, this is where I'm going to take this screen, and this is going to advance to the next one. For the next one, we're just going to have it dissolve as well. Okay, let me show you this now. You ready for this, everybody? All right, check this out. We're going to go to this list. And let's actually kind of test this out. Let's actually jump from here to FICA Twigs, this first one. We're going to point to this screen right here. And then we hit play. So once you click play, it's going to go to this screen. All right, let's try this out. Clicking play. We have this initial screen. Let's wait for it. This initial screen. And make sure I have this. Going to the next one. I never actually connected that one. All right, clicking play, here we are. We log in, we get the current location, yes. Getting popular artists based on your location, it's gonna advance to the next one. There's no automatically like advancing feature. We technically are working on that, but that's what we're working on as well. So right in here, we can see this long list. We can click this first option for FICA Twigs, and then we can say, hey, you know what, song title goes here, but essentially you click play, and now that music is, the idea is that's playing, and I need to flip these two. I get it, but that's the whole idea of prototyping, is you can easily kind of sense what's working and what isn't working. All right, so that's the idea. So take a look at a couple things, because quite frankly, what I need to work on is right over here for this screen. I'd rather be able to scroll through all of these items, and let's actually please, for the love of all that is holy, let's get this right icon right there. Boop. There we go. I have this item. It is outlined as green, saying, hey, you know what? It is actually a symbol. Okay, so this is cool. I can reveal this symbol in assets, in the assets panel. Some of these are hard to see because this is like white on white, but you can see that it's outlined in green. It says, hey, I'm a symbol, and we can reveal it right over here as well. Right? Okay, so this is what I want to do, and I expand this artboard down. Zoop, zoop, zoop. You gotta make the sound effects yourself. Bringing that down, and now we can go ahead and scroll this list. All right, so what happens? We have this little marker right here. It says, hey, my viewport height is 667 pixels. But really the height of the artboard is like over 1,000. Okay, so we're gonna allow them to scroll the list. Clicking the play button or preview button, I can now scroll through this list, and this works out pretty well. So let's get into some features that are coming soon, right? Because what's happening as I scroll down, oh, there's this search bar right down there at the bottom. Okay, so how can I make that persistent? In fact, how can I make this top bar up here persistent as well? So that's what I'm going to get into right now. This is a new feature coming soon. I can't say when, but right up here for this bar, even for this content. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out a box. Yes, a beautiful box. How's that audio? And just check the depth, the Z order, moving that to the back, turning off the stroke, giving it just a nice fill. This fill could be, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this semi-transparent because I think it's just gonna look cool that way. Ooh, I'm gonna do you one better. This is gonna be really exciting. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna turn on background blur, okay? And for this background blur, I'm gonna make it a medium, something like that. Okay, all these elements, I can group them if I want to because this is gonna be easier, but I have this fancy option right up here in the upper right, fixed position. Always keep it fixed, checking that box. Yes, that's as hard as it is. And now let's go ahead and click play or preview, diving into that specific screen. And now I can scroll. Are you seeing that? Zoom in on that. See, as I scroll, you can see that it's obviously in that fixed position, and actually we're using the nice background blur, just makes it kind of cool, right? So that's the idea. We now have fixed position, a feature you currently don't have today, but you could tomorrow for all I know, you know, for as long, you know, in the future, it's coming. So the future is, you know, noon tomorrow, next week. In 6 months. We wouldn't do that to you, by the way. We wouldn't show something heavily without you getting it in your hand soon. All right, what about this bottom bar right here? This one, right? So let's make sure this is in front of everything else. Bring to front. Let's do the same thing. Let's see if I can do this. Double clicking on this for this background. Let me just change this, give it, you know, something like that. But the big thing is yeah, maybe that won't work. This is what I want to do. I'm gonna cut. I'm just gonna roll this back a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna basically do the same thing because I love this nice. How am I losing my mind slowly? Okay, so sometimes if it's a grouped element, this happens to be grouped. You might run into this because I think this is a grouped element, even though it's not grouped with anything, but it's weird. So I'm just gonna ungroup. But basically, since I've ungrouped this, I have access to this raw shape, if you will, because notice how I get these corner controls, but also off here in my properties panel, I can change this to background blur now, which is what I want, because now I actually want to bring that down there. I should be actually be able to do the same thing right in here. Let's just check this. Yep. fixing this really fast. Yes, you think it's going to be just pure black, but we're going to change that to background blur. Oh, love it. Right? So again, this is a fixed element right down here at the bottom. Clicking play or preview, going to that screen as expected. And you, ooh, did I actually select it? Selecting this element, selecting fixed position, okay, for this element also happens to be a symbol. And now we can scroll through all this content. And hopefully you like that. You get the idea. So super fancy, scrolling through content, looks great. Let's go beyond that. What do we want to do? Let's just like do something that, let's go to this screen right here, right? And this has, I want to show you something else. This also has the same search field, right? And I can do the fixed position for this as well. But what I want to do here is I actually want to bring in the keyboard for, you guessed it, iOS, right? Since that's what I'm on, because what's going to happen when you hit that search button, that search field? We want to do an overlay of that text. So I'm just going to paste this in. Typically, this is what you would do, is you'd have a screen and like you'd link this field to this new screen, and that's two screens that we'd have to deal with. That's how you would typically do that. I have to duplicate all these graphics, and then when I click right up here, it does this dissolve, right? When actually what we can do is we can go beyond that. Check this out. You can see right in here, overlay. So changing this from transition to overlay. Did you show overlays too? I'm just about to right now. And Raja, we have better news than that. So I'm going to select overlay, and then it gives me this target saying, hey, it's going to be positioned right here. Then I can just remove all of these elements. Really, all I want is just this keyboard positioned right there, okay? I know this is an overlay because it gives me these dotted lines, right? So that's all I need to do. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the transition from dissolve to slide up. Set that to slide up, click play. There we have it. Clicking right here, we can see it sliding up the keyboard and down. No, they did not. No, Felicia, they didn't update it last week. And Cody, to answer your question, this is a sneak peek. So I sneaked two things real fast. I sneaked overlays. We can see them right here. Overlay, which actually when you click off of the graphic, it will reverse the transition. And then I also just sneaked this feature as I go into design view, select this menu up at the top, fixed position. So those are the two things that I've sneaked, fixing the position of items. In fact, I've linked these screens together. I'm gonna actually publish this out right now because now I'm getting down to this stage of publishing the prototype. Selecting publish prototype. There may or may not be some sneaks in here, but I know Talon has shown them, so we're going to create a public link of this app so everybody can check it out for themselves, so they can experience the overlay and the fixed position. So, yes, cheers. With that done, we can right up here at the top. Felicia asked about embedding this into Behance. That's going to be this button right here. This embed icon. See that copy embed code? That's the code that you're going to want to put into Behance. Because in Behance, when you go to a project, it's going to have an option for adding embed code. So that's the button you would select. That's where you'd get the embed code, and that's where it would actually embed this particular item right here. We can see the music app clicking through. And we can see if I go back, if I click off of this, we can see the only screen or button that's available is this blue one right here, because that's the only thing that's highlighting. So get the current location, getting popular artists, and now we have that. That is scrollable, and that is what I'm going to paste into by the way, this URL right up here is for this specific screen. So this is the pinned, content, if you will, the pinned content screen. You can click on that and you can kind of get a feel for that pinning and that background blur. FICA twigs, that's what I have selected. You kind of go into this sort of like play screen that I'm still working on, but right up here, if you click the search, it'll actually slide that up. Thank you so much, Nicole. Very sweet of you. It really means a lot because, it's a lot of work. This work stuff, it's crazy. But this is the great thing is I could have this this overlay right here. This could be for a number of things. So if I decide I want to link anything to this keyboard screen, I can link any number of fields to this keyboard screen. I only need one. It will work as an overlay for all of them, which is great. So you got it right in here. We can kind of just take a second look at that right in here. Selecting that graphic, fixed position. I called it pinned, but that's kind of slang for it. We kind of toss around ideas, but essentially this is called fixed position. That's what it's called. And then also, let's not forget about the overlay content for the keyboard. All right, you can see right in here, I've done a publish prototype. I can go back in. I can always update this like I need to do right now for this area, these graphics, because technically this, since you already hit play, this should be shown as pause. Right, so I can make that change. I can save this file, go into prototype, publish prototype, and then update that link. How would you publish for commercial use? Okay, let's kind of talk about what XD can and can't do. XD allows you to design and prototype any sort of interaction that you want, right? Raja, good call. Overlays can be used for in-app notifications, but that's what it does. XD creates prototypes. So it's not actually creating the actual app, if you will. So when you say for commercial use, I think of actually the ability to make an actual app. The cool thing is you can actually create this, send this to your client or your art director or whoever you want, and they can come in and they can say, make this stand out more. Okay, we don't know what they mean by this. What do they mean? Well, we can pin that content and we can, put that right there. Make this sign up stand out more. And now they can add comments to it, right? And the great thing is as I roll over them, we can see right here, we can reply, we can resolve it once it's done. We can say, done, fool. Not really, don't say that. Whatever you want, and you can resolve that comment as well. So you can have this as one place for sending reviews, and from there I can get design specs. So once the client says, hey, it looks great, the app's ready to go, we can go into publish design specs. Okay, and notice right here, this might be a sneak as well, but you can actually require a password. So if this is an internal app or just something you don't want getting out, you can go ahead and require a password for anyone who has this link. Just they need the password for it. Otherwise, it's a very obscure URL, just the same thing as, say, a Dropbox link would be, but you can password protect, and that's a big thing right now. And we can require a password as well for publishing specs. The design specs will go to the developer. Not only the developer does get all the fancy graphics, but they get the position. NZ, oh yeah, actually password protection is actually already out there because that's a public URL type thing. Anyways, running this. Enzi, we might need to talk. You can always send me a link. Again, my name is Paul Tranny. We'll kind of try to play this. Here's just my name underneath, but this is getting started in Adobe XD with Paul Tranny. But that's my name. I just wanted to display my name over my face. Contact me at Paul Tranny on Twitter would be the best way. So right in here, we can see this. Here it is. We can open up that page, and this is design specs. So this is going to give you the position, size, pretty much all the details. And even as I roll over these screens, they actually, maybe I do have to select them. Typically, if I roll over them, it will typically show those highlighting, maybe not anymore. Nonetheless, I'm going to click on this first screen. It's going to give me all the details for this. It's using all these different colors because that's what's used for this Illustrator file. It got a little crazy. I get it. Right down here, the character styles and all that good stuff. You can see right over here, character styles, and then the target, like where is it going to? So right down here at the bottom, and again, this is new. It's going to go to that second location screen, and then this one goes to this screen. You get the idea. But from here, for a developer, I can take a look at this and say, hey, where is this bar or this icon at this point? Well, we'll zoom in on that. We can see that we can get the size, by the way, that we can actually pin that content. This is new as well. And there's other little features. So if I hold down the let's see. Actually, it looks like it's already highlighting by itself since I pinned that content. Huh. This is cool. So anyways, this is just getting easier to work with. So essentially, you can get the distance it is from the edge. You can get the text, the font right here. Here's the content. Here's the font that's being used. You get the idea. Ooh, we're running out of time. I'm going to thank everybody for joining me. That is creating a music app. I can share that on social media. Join me at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Heba, Katie, and Sarah. We have four awesome days of UX and UI design. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, Ko, what's up, my friend? Good to have you here. Benjamin, thank you everybody for joining me. I think you all are wonderful, and I can't thank you enough just for putting a smile on my face on this wonderful Monday and kicking my day off right. So thank you so much. I hope to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. and follow everything on social media. Me and everyone else. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you.